So the last few days, I've really been dropping in and contemplating deeply the idea of abundance and really feeling into it and contemplating what is the missing ingredient that's stopping us from thriving as a collective humanity? You know, what is it that's keeping us in this space of survival where we operate like chickens in a chicken coop, you know, separated into our worlds with limited resources, all scrambling, fighting each other to get to the chicken feed? You know, what is it that's creating this atmosphere, this environment? And so I used the 14th gene key by Richard Rudd for contemplation in this one. And dropping into, you know, what they call the shadow frequency, which carries the word or the keynote of compromise. And when I contemplated this idea of compromise, it really opened up a lot. And what it began to speak to me, what I began to see is that we have come here as a collective, but each of us have turned up in this world as a very unique expression of that collective. So it's that paradox that we are very much individuals connected into a greater body. So we are like the fingertips of the greater collective in that sense. And so for each of us, so you that is watching this, you have a very specific genetic makeup. Your vehicle is not just a generic human body that everyone's got. It's an incredibly unique vehicle that is designed for function and purpose. You have incarnated into this human vehicle to come out and express yourself in an incredibly unique way that will not be like anyone else. And so when we look at this, we have these billions of people all over the planet, and there is no exception. Every single person has a unique genius waiting to just burst out and shine, to radiate out of their DNA into the world and contribute towards a thriving humanity. And so compromise, it's the shadow, it's a survival frequency that was beneficial many, many eons ago, but it's no longer needed now, yet we keep it going. And compromise is when you compromise your inner values. It's when you compromise your heart's dreaming, your heart's intelligence, in order to satisfy external expectations. You know, society's expectations of what kind of job you should do, your parents' expectations, your friends and family, and you know, TV and Hollywood and all these different things. We compromise our inner dreaming, our inner knowing, this power in our heart that is driving us forwards to express ourselves. We compromise that. We push that to the side in order to satisfy everything outside of ourselves. And this is a survival mechanism. This is something that our DNA drops into that base frequency because it feels like it's under attack. So it doesn't want to shine its light and it wants to survive. But these days we're creating this frequency artificially through marketing, Facebook's pumping all this news all the time and all this other stuff. And so we're constantly reacting from the fear place. And when we do that, then resources do not flow our way because we're not ready for them. Because if we were to, it's that thing, you know, energy flows where attention goes. So if you're really in this place where you're compromising your heart, your attention's going outwards into all this other crap and this fear, then if you were to get all this energy, which is what resources, money, you know, all, love, all these things, it's energy. And if you start receiving huge amounts of resources when you're in a bad place, when you're not stable, when you've got fear running your inner show and you're doing it for everyone else, then you'll create castles in your life based on other people's plans. And when you finally get to sit in the throne of that castle and you're finished building it with all these resources, you're going to be miserable because it's not the castle you wanted. It's not the dream you wanted to create. And so we compromise ourselves. We build these worlds around us based on everybody else's expectations and opinions, etc. Compromising our own heart's intelligence, pushing it down and compromising it. And then we end up miserable and all those resources get wasted and it's the leaky wagon. It just constantly leaks out. No matter how much comes in, it never quite stabilizes and gives us that abundant, thriving feeling. And so the key here is what the Gene Keys would say is competence. And competence is the capacity to be able to do one's job efficiently, properly, and correctly. And so your job in this context is to be you. That's what it means to be competent. in this human experience, because all the jobs, etc., are all made up things. They're illusionary things that we've created with our human mind to satisfy an economic system that's based in fear. And we need to transcend that now. We need to begin now individually. And each of us needs to sit there and say, it's my job to become fully me. I need to become competently Mark Bentley. That's what I need to do. That is my concern. And I cannot compromise me becoming me for anything else. Not even for my own son, because even though it might seem like I'm helping him by compromising me becoming me, I'm in fact teaching him the wrong things, giving him the wrong virtues, setting up the wrong pathway to encourage him to sacrifice himself and compromise himself. And that's not doing him any favors. And so it's that part where we can never compromise who we came here to be. And the beauty of this is that when we begin to become truly competent, and that means we need to discover our own unique style. That means you need to be able to allow yourself to bubble up in its own unique way without caring what other people think, and making sure it's a heart expression that flows from the heart. And when we can become competent in becoming ourselves, doing that self-awareness work to really come in and strip back and decondition the mind and step forth and say, this is what makes my heart pump. This is what makes me thrive. This is my piece to the world. Whether they appreciate it or not, this is what comes out of me and I need to contribute it. And when we step into that competence, when we truly begin to believe in ourselves, to believe that this is my birthright to bring this gift. In fact, it's not my birthright, it's my obligation to humanity, to all that is, to God itself, to become the clearest conduit for that light of source creation to flow through me and my genetics in the purest form and give that as a gift in service to the whole, however it looks. Then when we can step into that place and truly command that competence, then abundance will flow. Resources will begin to pour in. It will come from all angles you'll never expect. Because then you're ready. Then you're ready to take those resources and create the life that you came here to live. And as selfish as this may seem to some, when each of us individually play our role first and foremost before worrying about everybody else, then that contributes and makes it easier for all the other people around us to begin to do the same. And just like the cells in our body, that if one cell in our body, if all our cells thought they were individuals and it didn't matter what they did, they just, then we would die. Our cells work together in this great, I look like this one person, but as a one person, I am made up of incredible amounts of these little cells and living, breathing, creating aspects that come together to create the illusion of the one. And so then when you then bring that fractal out, all of us humans all over this planet are like the cells of humanity. As much as we'd like to think we are alone, we are actually part of a greater collective. And so the greatest gift you can give to this collective and to yourself is to begin to discover your true style. What are you here to bring to the world? What is it that makes your heart light up and makes you tingle and just get up in the morning? And do it. And don't try to rush it, just one step at a time. Baby steps. There's no rush. But once we begin moving towards that pathway of commanding competence, then abundance will flow. And you'll find yourself living in a whole new world. And you'll begin to surround yourself by other shining lights. And then together, that is how we're going to create the grassroots synarchy, the grassroots self-organizing communities around the planet that are going to rise up within the framework of the old economic and political systems and crack them open with love, passion, and inspiration, with whole new inventive creative ideas to create a new economic model for the future. So let's get started now. So my challenge and the contemplation for this week is to really drop into What is your unique flavor and your unique style? What is it that is important to your well-being and your light and that feeling of thriving that you cannot compromise? And see if you can get clear on that. I'll be doing the same. And I would love to hear from each of you that are watching this in the comments below. What is it for you personally that is so important that you cannot compromise? Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you in the next contemplation.